Hey everybody, in this video we're going to talk about the motion key editor. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the UI, start off with the UI, give a little introduction about that, and then show you how to do some simple animations using keyframe editing. We'll also get into using stretch and squash for emphasis on your animations a little bit later on. But first of all, let's take a look at the difference in the motion key editor between the G2 characters, which we have on the screen right here. This is a G2 character Saul, and the G3 character we have on the right here, Mr. Stretchy Dude. Alright, so Saul, you can find them in G2 and G3 over here, these folders. Alright, so let's go ahead and with our Saul character selected, I'm actually going to go into the motion key editor right here, the 2D motion key editor, okay? And we're going to open that up. Now, first thing you want to notice is if I have Saul selected, the motion key editor will look a little bit different because he's a G2 character. If I select my other dude, Elastic Folk here, you'll notice that the motion key editor looks a lot different. And I'll explain the differences as we go along right now. Okay, so first of all, we have the motion key editor for our G2 characters. We'll get rid of this because we're going to delete this guy off the screen in just a moment here. So you can select your, there's a pose section, a transform section, and a deform section. The pose section will just allow you to, basically pose your character. If you use this little inner circle here, you're going to rotate the parent bones a lot more. So the upper arm is going to rotate a lot more in this case. If you use the outer circle, then you're going to have more rotation with your child joints, such as the wrist and the arm and everything like that. So just notice the difference there. And all these things do is they just, adjust the basic poses of your G2 characters. Right now in transform, we have the option to select parts individually, so upper arm, lower arm, and here you can actually stretch these out if you want. You can condense them a little bit. I'm going to Control Z that. You can rotate them to whatever you want. You can also scale them up as well, so you can create gigantic arms and everything like that. But generally, you're going to use these for like detailed editing on the positions of your bones, like the wrist and arm here and stuff like that. Okay, and so on and so forth. There's the head and the shoes and everything, or feet and everything like that. Okay, and then there's also deform. So deform is where you can actually deform the sprite itself. Now you can stretch and squash it in transform, but in deform, you can do all kinds of different stuff like this. Say, for example, we wanted to make this hand a lot larger. Well, we can just stretch it out like this, and this is stuff that you cannot do using the transform. Okay, so we can stretch it out into all kinds of positions, and so on and so forth, and just basically deform the entire sprite itself. Okay, so that's that. That's basically a quick run through of what you can do with each one of these sections here. You can press reset to reset everything back to normal. You can reset the sprite. Now I'm just going to go ahead and select default pose, bring him back to his regular pose here. And let's close this down. We don't need him actually anymore on the screen because we're going to be focusing on the G3 character. So let's just go ahead and delete Mr. Saul there. And now we have our G3 character on the screen. And let's take a look at what you can do with these characters. So G3 characters have a bone structure, as you can see. The G2 characters did not. They were simply sprites. So the G3 characters rather have a bone structure that kind of manipulates the image that the bone structure is laid under. Okay, so what you can do is you can select the bones, any bone in your character's body, by clicking on the screen right here. You can click any one of these big yellow bones here, and you can move them around and use the rotate to move them around. And if you just click and drag like this, you can transform the position. You can see the inverse kinematics at work there. So IK, this is human IK at work right here. And you can also select them from the hierarchy here as well. So you can select the neck, head, all these items right here. And if you want to reset the position of any one of your sprites back to normal, or any one of your bones back to normal, just press reset. You reset it back to default. You can press reset all, and that'll reset every single bone that you moved on your character's body. Now there's a couple things down here. There is an IK constraints and a lock selected bone. Let's take a look at IK constraints first. Remember that I selected the hand earlier and I moved it around like this. And with the IK constraints box selected, we're going to get inverse kinematics. So it's going to influence in a realistic manner the parent bones on the hierarchy. In this case, the right forearm and the arm. You can also click them and press the down arrow and up arrow, okay, as well, to toggle between all these different bones. And you can also go up here as well. I forgot to mention, you can select a parallel view. You can see the view right here if you don't want all that hierarchy stuff. And you can just collapse the entire list and, twirl it back up like this. I always tend to keep that list expand for easier access to all the bone items. Okay, so back to what we're talking about here, the IK constraints. You can see they move like this, the arm on the character. And if we select the forearm, it's going to do the same thing. So we can, move it like this. And the upper arm. Now the upper arm, you'll notice that there's kind of like a little red dot right there. We can actually stretch the upper arm a little bit, just like this. And this is something we can't do with the other items on the hierarchy. That's because this is the parent bone. Okay, now let's talk about what we can do if we select these bones, in particular this forearm bone, and then we deselect IK constraints. Well, in this case, what we can do, we can actually stretch out the parent bone. So we can move this bone, and now there's no IK constraints on the previous bone. So we can just stretch it out like this. Then we can take the hand bone, and we can stretch it out even further. So we can give him like a long, wacky, wavy arm, just like that. We can do the same thing with the legs. Okay, so rotate this leg out like this. Select the calf leg with no IK constraints. You can just stretch it out to infinity. Like Mr. Stretch Armstrong. Whoops, we selected the wrong bone there. Let's select the R foot from the hierarchy and move it out like this. So you can just give him like a Dalsum from Street Fighter 2 kick or something like that. Stretch out all these things. Now, if I reset this bone right here, reset the foot and everything, and I put IK constraints on, then again, I'm not going to be able to move it like this. Okay, I can select the foot, and I'm not going to be able to move it. It'll just use the IK constraints. All right, so let's just reset all, bring everything back to normal here. And let's take a look at lock selected bone. Now, if I select my character's hips, the hip right here, this is your basic, the kind of nexus of your character's body, I guess. If I move it around, you can see it's actually going to move the entire body, which we don't want in some cases. Say, for example, we wanted our character to bend down using like a natural-looking inverse kinematics. Well, all we need to do in this case is select our feet bone right here, our left foot, and select lock selected bone. You'll see the little node there will turn into a transparent red circle. Let's do the same thing with the right foot over here and lock that selected bone. Now those bones are going to be locked into place, which means they're not going to move. And anything else that we move in the body, it's going to use inverse kinematics to adjust. Okay, so we can have him doing like a ooh. And now you can see when we move the hips, he's doing a nice kind of dance with his legs like that. Okay, so that's what lock bone is. And you can also do the same thing with the arms. If I take this arm up like this, at the same time, lock that bone, and then take the hips, and you can see that hand will also be locked in place as well. Okay, so you can create some pretty cool animations. Open the door. All right, so that's basically it for the UI introduction. Let's take a little bit of a look at a simple keyframe animation. Now to do this, we're going to open the timeline. We can use this little button down here, or we can just press the F3 hotkey, which I like to do. And when we press the F3 hotkey, we're going to have a number of tracks that open up. If I select the arm, for example, or the leg, or the right thigh, I guess you can say, those will appear on the hierarchy in my timeline. You can go to the motion track here, and there is a transform track in the motion section here that's going to basically create the overall keyframes for any animations that you make in the 2D motion key editor here. So what we're going to do is we're going to start off with a really simple animation, okay? I'm going to go to about frame 20, since we're going to create an animation. We need to go to a different frame now. And I'm going to select my character's hand. Now we're not going to lock this bone at this point. Whoops, did I select the hand or the foot? Let's keep the foot locked. Let's select the hand over here. There we go. Where is it? Oh, we have the timeline open here. So we need to select the hand from right hand. There we go. And let's move that up. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to have our character just do a little bit of a wave. Okay, so if I move it up to here at frame 20, notice that in the transform track, it'll create a keyframe at frame 20, where I have it loaded in. If I close down the motion track and we select our right hand, where is it here? Whoops, we're at the feet. Right hand, like this. Then the transform subtrack, our hand underscore T, the transform track for our hand will show up like this. And it'll also have a keyframe right there. If I select the left forearm, there's not going to be any keyframe there because we haven't animated that yet. Okay, let's just keep at the right hand right here. We can, close this down for now. All right, so we have this simple animation that we've created. If I press space, you can see, whoops, you just kind of raise his hand to wave. Okay, now it looks very rigid and very linear at this point, so we want to add a little bit of pizzazz to it. The first thing I want to do is I'm going to bring his, at the initial frame 1, I'm going to bring his arms down here just by rotating those slightly. Rotating the upper arms down like this. Okay, and here we go. So he comes up like this. Another thing we can do is at this frame, we can just, take this arm and just to balance out his body as his arm comes up, we can, move the shoulder down a little bit, move his chest, slightly here to the right, and, just kind of bring his bones down like this. Okay, it's just kind of balance out the rest of the body. So you can see as he moves his right arm up, he's just adding a little bit of more natural movement to the movement there from the other side. So right side goes up, left side goes down, kind of balancing out the movement. Okay, so that's one step we can take. You can see it looks okay. One thing I'm going to do here is really quickly, just as an aside, this has nothing to do with the motion key editor, but I'm actually going to change this sprite on my character's hand to a waving sprite, okay? So we're going to go to the sprite editor at, frame 15 works, 14 or 15, whatever, and we'll open up the sprite editor, and what I'm going to do is just select my character's right hand, and we're going to change this to a wave, an open wave, okay, just like that. All right, so now you'll see it'll change to that sprite at this point, okay? And let's get back into the motion key editor now, and if we open up the motion track, you can see the sprite animation right there changing at that point, and the transform key right here. Okay, so boom, just like that. Now, simple wave animation like that, pretty cool. What we can do is we can actually now take the first frame in the transform track, right click it and select copy, and then go over here and just go ahead and paste it. We'll paste it at about frame 40, okay? And what's going to happen there is it's going to just basically return back to normal. And, oops, doesn't really look too good because it's just a quick little hey. All right. But what we can do is we can actually add some emphasis to these by using the transition curves. So I'm going to go ahead and right click on my transition or the keyframe in my transform track right here. I'm going to select transition curve. Okay. And what we can do here is now we can actually use a number of different transition curves. So let's see it decelerate. It'll have a lot of action closer to the beginning, and it'll kind of fade out as it approaches frame 20. Damping will have all the action at the beginning, and it'll kind of return back to the other frame just like this, okay? The stutter start and end, you can have a little stutter or end in a bounce like that. He's like, ooh, like that. Just, I don't know if anyone really waves like that, but, you can have fun with it. All right, and all these different things that you can do. So I'm just going to go ahead and use this gain, momentum, and damp. Because what this is going to do is you can see it kind of gains momentum at the beginning and then kind of, stretches out the very end just like this, okay? So it looks pretty cool, just like that. And what we can do is we can actually do the same thing to the other keyframe. So right now it looks like this. And it just goes down really quickly, slowly down like that. Let's do the same thing to this other keyframe. Right click, transition curve, and we're going to go ahead and use the same gain, momentum, and damp. And what this is going to inadvertently do is it's going to add a little bit of a slight wave. So right here you can see there's a slight wave between them because of the gain and the damping of this transition curve. Okay, so now what we have is this. A little quick wave like that. Okay, so really simple to do. And if you wanted that to last for longer, you can just Control C this keyframe right here and just Control V paste it over here, and then you get something like this. Okay, and then it goes down faster, and you can move this keyframe further down if you want, like this. Okay, and so it's just like hey, and then still, and then just moves like that. You can even add a little bit of a transition curve in here as well, like a damping or something, whatever. Okay, there you go. Good stuff. All right, so that's how you can use transition curves to create a little bit more emphasis on your animations. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to frame 1, right-click my character. Oops, we can close down the transition curve here. Right-click the character and select Remove Object Animation. That's going to remove all the animation on my character. And last but not least, let's take a look at how to add motion layer keys for emphasis onto existing animations. Okay, so I'm going to go to the animation tab over here. Under Elastic Folks Perform, I'm going to find a motion called Throw. All right, where is it? The bottom there. Okay, Throw. So what we have here is a pretty nice throw, and in the motion track you'll see the little clip here for the throw. So clip, linear, everything's okay. it looks like a nice throw. But what we can do is we can actually use the motion key editor to add a bit more emphasis to this by kind of stretching as he throws. We're going to stretch his arm out a little bit more, okay? So let's open up that motion key editor here. And right here, as our character prepares to swing, we're just going to go ahead and as he's releasing, I'm going to go ahead and press Reset All. And what Reset All is going to do is it's going to add a keyframe, an overall keyframe in the transform track. It's also going to add a keyframe for all the other bones on my character's body. So you can see right forearm even has a bone. Everything has a bone. So at this point, this is where we want our stretch animation to start. And at this point right here, as he's just finished releasing, that's where we're going to stretch everything out. So again, making sure the IK constraints are not on, we can deselect that. We can stretch out the hand or the arm just like that and do the same thing for the hand. We'll just stretch it out like this. Okay, and there we go. So it looks like now we have a much more stretchy throw. Okay, so now he looks like stretch arm throw. Ooh, he threw his arm out or something as he's moving. But everything is normal up to here because this is where we press the Reset All. Okay, and then from here to here, that's where we have the stretch. Okay, and then we can maintain that stretch by clicking the transform key again, Control C, and pasting it to somewhere like this, Control V over here, and then at the end, as he's moving up, we'll just go ahead and press Reset All, and that'll reset everything back to normal. So then we have this stretch like that, and then back to the regular position. Okay, so that's like kind of a really quick example of a stretch and squash. So just press space there, you can see it all stretched like that. If you want to compare this to the other, to the original one here, what we can do is we can just go into Collect Clip here. I'm going to close down the keyframe editor since we don't need that anymore. I'm going to click and drag for the duration of that clip. I'm going to right click and select Export Perform. Okay, you can just select Export or Export Perform. And I'm going to call this Exaggerated Throw. Okay, and that's going to be our exaggerated throw. So we're going to keep this one right here, and I can just go ahead and right click my character, Move Object Animation if we don't want that there anymore, and then we can go ahead and use this throw just like that, apply that again, and I'm going to click on my character to create a duplicate character. Alright, so he's going to have a twin here just so we can compare the two. Alright, and now they both have throws. Let's just right click, remove the object animation from this guy. And to find that custom perform motion that we saved, we can go to the custom tab of the animation under perform right here. And there's our exaggerated throw. So let's apply it to our second character here. All right, and you can see the difference. With the character on the right, we have a much more cartoon-like exaggerated throw. So just something like this. Play back one more time. I'll go through it frame by frame here. You can see, just stretches out like that. And it's much more dynamic and exaggerated. So that's how you can really, quickly just use a couple keyframes to add some more emphasis to any of the motions that you already have in your library, and so on and so forth. So that's really about all I wanted to show for this tutorial. That's just a brief introduction to the capabilities of the 2D motion key editor. So thanks so much for watching, and hopefully you learned a lot. Again, make sure you check out our forums at forum.reallusion.com and all the other fun videos on our YouTube channel for CrazyTalk Animator 3, iClone, and everything else. And I'll see you in the next video.